I would say my favorite aspects are probably things that Margarita, Phil, and Alice have already mentioned. So one, I really like the variety of things that I can learn because I get to work on multiple audits throughout the year, so I get to learn about all the different functions of the business I'm working with. I also get to meet and work with people all across the organization, and I really like the individual and teamwork aspect as well of internal audit.
Yeah, I like you, so I worked in public accounting as well, right, in the firms beforehand, and I think breadth is a big thing that we talk about in the firms where, you know, you have all these engagements and you're assigned to them, so you certainly get that with internal audit, but for me what stood out as well is there is depth, right? So you get the breadth and the depth because rightly or wrongly, you're kind of forced to really be in an engagement for it's a long time. It's 2 months, 3 months. So you're really learning, you know, from planning to testing to reporting, right? You're planning out the audit. You're figuring out what are the critical key controls, right, and all that good stuff. And then so you really go into depth. So you do have that sense of, hey, you know what? I understood, you know, the business, right? And I can do this, right? So it's great.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, I kind of said it during my introduction too, the favorite aspect of it is just the ability for you to ask questions with a lot of the executives, and obviously you have to have a meaningful, you know, you have to prepare yourself first, but obviously a lot of the time you get to interact with the business partners, executives, and that gives you a lot of knowledge around, you know, the business, the way they think, the way they work. So I think it also helps you to provide the perspective in terms of, you know, when you want to get into that business at some point and work in that department, you almost get a sense already in terms of, you know, what that department works. And I think there's no other department except internal audit that would give you that opportunity to do that.
So just to add on to all of those great things, I think one additional thing, like Margarita mentioned, you have audit engagements, you can have multiple ones. And one really cool thing is that we have integrated audits. So for every one of your engagement, you might be working with a different group of people. So having that opportunity to explore working with different people with different subject matter expertise and trying out different working styles, and that's a really great way for you to even network and just learn from each other.
Yeah, you know, it's so easy for me to think about, frankly, all the stressful times. I think especially as students, that's what we know, right? So we're studying for the next test, the next midterm, you know, your accounting exams, right? And you're you know, making sure that you get your master's or whatever it is, right? So I think for me, my advice is a little unconventional. I think for me it's pause, right? I think, you know, we grew up in that environment, right, where it's kind of like, you know, this is important, education's important, which is, it still is, right? But you gotta pause, you gotta think about, you know, there's always going to be other challenges. This is one set of challenges and there's going to be something else, right? So you can do it, you can think through it, you can work through it, pause, be kind to yourself, because honestly, you look back and you realize, like for me, it's like it's been many years since I graduated, but I still remember, you know, stressing out for what we used to call the UFE, the Uniform Final Examination. And I remember one of the professors actually said, guys, this is a mountain, yes, but it's a little mountain, right? In life, there's gonna be way more. So be kind to yourself, pause, think, but, you know that you have goals and know that you're working towards them. So, yeah, exactly.
One thing I would want to add to that is when I was going through school, you know, a lot of the materials or things that I exposed myself with was just the readings that's assigned, the textbooks. But then going into the industry and starting to attend a lot of the professional conferences, it's really made things a lot more real. It's like, oh, everything you're learning in school, like this is how it's applicable in the real world. So one kind of advice I would give myself or to all of the students out there is just to tap into these industry events, like especially during the pandemic. A lot of these are now available online for free, and just to see what people are concerned about, what are some of the key topics, the key priorities, and it'll really help to put everything you're learning into perspective.
Yeah, I would agree. I think similar to Alice, I would say don't be afraid to try new things, go to all these events, join new clubs, like do as many things that you can manage, because I think university was such a great and fun time just to discover who you are, what you like, what you don't like, which helps you figure out what you want to do in the future and just to grow as a person.
Yeah, and I would just echo what everyone said, just enjoy the 5 years. The 5 years for me in Waterloo was one of the best 5 years of my life. I got to meet a lot of lifelong friends. Some of them, although they moved out of the country to work in somewhere else, but we still keep in touch. So I do think it is really important to enjoy yourself. The 5 years, it's one of the best times you will ever get.